Developing right now, investigators looking for a killer, the person responsible for murdering Dylan Redwine and dumping his remains off this road near Vallecito Reservoir. His father didn't want to talk on camera tonight, but he's telling 7 News he's going tomorrow morning with investigators to the area where his 13-year-old son's remains were found. He tells us he wants to know where they were found so that he can be close to his son.
It's hard for them to describe to me the exact location that they found these remains. I've asked members of law enforcement to stop by, and I want to talk to them about going to the location so I can be close to my son.
Tonight, police are now trying to figure out how Dylan Redwine was killed and how long his remains have been on that hillside near Vallecito Reservoir. 7 News reporter Marc Stewart looking at some of the tools investigators may be using. And Mark, you found cases like these are very complicated.
And for that reason, Teresa, an entire team is brought in to look at the crime scene, to study the remains. And often one of the most critical members of that team is a forensic anthropologist. This is Dr. Catherine Gaither's laboratory.
These are replicas or casts.
As a forensic anthropologist, she can study bones to help determine someone's identity and how they died.
I'm going to look for any evidence of trauma that may have been on the bones.
While she can't speak specifically about the Dylan Redwine case, Redwine's father says investigators faced challenges when they found his remains in this rugged territory outside of Durango.
They've only found 2% or approximately 2% of his remains. That means there's 98% of my son still thrown about the countryside somewhere.
You don't have to have a full skeleton to make an identification.
No, it really depends on which parts of the skeleton you do have.
And the condition of the bones can determine if someone was killed on purpose, including the type of weapon that was used.
If somebody was shot, you could see marks on the bones from the projectile passing through the bone. You could see if somebody was beaten, blunt force trauma, you can see that on the bones.
Scientific strategy that can contribute to a conviction in court.
It's science all the way.
In the Redwine case, we don't know specifically what investigators found to allow them to make that positive match, but often there are other items on the scene, things like clothing, that allow them to make that kind of conclusion. Reporting live tonight, Marc Stewart, 7 News.